On our wedding anniversary, what I got was Fu Chen's first love showing up at my door with his illegitimate son, Chao Xiong. The boy screamed that I had stolen his father, then charged at me and stabbed me with a knife. I had no time to defend myself. He slashed my artery. By the time Fu Chen found us, I had already stopped breathing, but he only gave me a long, deep look before turning to comfort his startled beloved. Don't be afraid, her death wasn't your fault. If anyone's to blame, it's her. I'll have my secretary take you and Xiaozhe abroad immediately. I'll handle everything else. When I opened my eyes again, Grandpa Fu was smiling and asking if I would marry Fu Chen. I shook my head firmly. I don't want to. Ignoring the shock in Fu Chen's eyes, I left the Fu residence and found the guy who fixes phones on the street. Hey, wanna get married? He looked at me for a long moment, then smiled and said, sure. In the Fu family's main hall. Grandfather Fu's smile was as kindly and gentle as ever. Beside him, however, Fu Chen's face was a mask of icy displeasure. Yao, your marriage to Xiao Chen is settled. I, your grandfather, have decided it. I jolted awake from my daze, practically leaping to my feet as I cried out, no. Grandfather's smile froze on his face. Yao, you don't want to marry Fu Chen. I shook my head vehemently, my voice firm and resolute. I don't want to, grandfather. There's someone else I love. Hearing this, Fu Chen's expression shifted to one of stunned bewilderment. I pointed at him, my voice clear and bright. Grandpa, he has someone he loves too. It's that Lian Xian. She's even pregnant. You should let them be together. I have to go find the person I love. I'm leaving now, Grandpa. Before Grandpa Fu could react, I had already rushed out the front door of the Fu residence, completely ignoring the thunderous look on Fu Chen's face behind me. The sight of him instantly brought back the bloody scenes from my past life. After I was slashed, Lian Xian called Fu Chen in tears, saying their precious son, Xiaozhe, was in trouble. Her son stood there, holding a knife, staring at me with a chilling smile fixed on his face. As for me, I lay lifeless on the cold floor, my blood staining the expensive carpet. Fu Chen listened to the whole account and fell silent for a long time. Then, he reassured them, don't be afraid, her death wasn't your fault. If anyone's to blame, it's her. I'll have Secretary Chen take you and Xiaozhe abroad immediately. I'll handle the rest. Blame myself, my dead soul wailed, crying over how long he had kept this from me, crying over how he blamed me, and I cried even harder because he will never know that just last night, I found out I'm carrying a tiny life inside me. All he cares about is his white moonlight, his college sweetheart, Lian Xian. Back then, Grandpa Fu forced them apart, compelling Fu Chen to break up with her. And so he turned and chose me instead. My grandfather was a sworn comrade of Grandpa Fu's, so after my parents passed away early, I was taken in by the Fu family. Over time, day by day, I fell in love with Fu Chen. So, when Grandpa Fu asked if I was willing to marry Fu Chen, I nodded without a moment's hesitation. Lian Xian, heartbroken, left the country, and Fu Chen agreed to the marriage with a cold expression. In my past life, their son showed up at our door when he was 8 years old. Fu Chen was 34 at the time. Working backwards, Lian Xian was already pregnant when she went abroad. At that memory, I shook my head in horror. When I came to my senses, I found myself on the busiest street in City A. I went to the street and found that phone repair guy. Hey, how about we get married? Grandpa Fu was truly good to me, wanting to give me the very best the world had to offer. His greatest wish was for Fu Chen to marry me, take good care of me, so he could have an answer for his old comrade in arms down below. Well, if he's so keen on my happiness, I'll just find it myself. I'll find that tech prodigy, Jiang Yan, the man destined to shake up City A. That'll put the old man's mind completely at ease. Jiang Yan looked up, his slightly upturned eyes holding my gaze intently for a long moment. I was watching with my palms sweating, thinking it was all over. He just gave a faint smile and said, all right, let's get married. I was a bit taken aback by how readily he agreed. In a previous life, this tycoon stated in a financial interview that the love of his life had married someone else, and he would never marry again, until the day I died. I never heard of any woman by his side. Never mind, I won't dwell on it. With a flicker of joy in my heart, I turned and headed back to the Fu residence. I need to pick a good day to bring Jiang Yan to meet Grandpa. I had just stepped inside when I saw Fu Chen and Lian Xian in a heated tussle in the living room. Seeing me, Lian Xian shrank back and hid behind Fu Chen. Fu Chen, on the other hand, grabbed my wrist with a face full of fury. Su Yao, did you really think I'd believe you after what you said today? You don't have anyone else you like. The only person you've ever loved, from childhood until now, is me. Don't think I don't know. You deliberately exposed Xinxin's pregnancy, didn't you? All just to get Grandpa on your side and force me to marry you. Chapter 2. He was pulling on me so hard it hurt, and I couldn't break free. I had no choice but to explain. I genuinely wish you both happiness. After all, a scumbag and a bitch deserve each other, don't they, Lianxin? I genuinely hope you can marry Brother Fuchen. Your love story is truly moving. It really is. Don't worry. I'll put in a good word for you with Grandpa, I promise. Hearing this, the anger faded from Fuchen's expression. He stared at me and let go of my hand. Lianxin looked at me suspiciously and said, "You're being this kind. Don't think I don't know. You've always had a thing for Chen. That was in a past life. The price of loving with your whole life is far too painful. No, no, no. I don't like him. I wouldn't like him in this lifetime if I died trying." With a resolute expression, I failed to notice the dark cloud that instantly descended over Fuchen's face. "Su Yao, drop that playing hard to get act of yours. It won't work on me." I couldn't help but roll my eyes inwardly. Just then, the butler came out and said Grandfather wanted us all to come in. The moment we stepped into the study, Grandfather Fu's face was livid. Holding a rattan cane, he pointed at Fu Chen and commanded, "On your knees." Lianxin had slipped the pregnancy test results over at some point, and they now lay spread out on the table. Old Master Fu's hand trembled violently as he held the paper, clearly beside himself with rage. Smack! He brought his hand down hard on Fu Chen, while Lianxin stood by, sobbing and crying out. I watched with a cold gaze, inwardly cheering wildly. Serves him right. Caught completely off guard, my eyes met Fu Chen's, and I realized he had been looking at me the whole time he was being hit. I quickly averted my gaze, putting on a look that said, "Grandpa wants to hit you. What can I do?" In my past life, Grandpa had also beaten Fu Chen, all to force him to marry me. I only learned this truth on my deathbed. Back then, Lianxin came to me with her child, screaming herself hoarse, accusing me of tearing their family apart. I was utterly stunned. Had I known this would happen, I would never have married him. Deep down, the old man is still very traditional. In the end, he arranged for Lianxin to stay in the building next door to rest during her pregnancy, but he didn't mention letting them get married. After dinner, I went to Grandpa's room. He looked heartbroken. "I thought I could get that boy to take good care of you, but instead, he's gone and caused all this trouble." I dropped to my knees, crying my eyes out. "Grandpa, I'm truly in love with someone else. If I'm forced to marry Brother Fuchen, my life will be ruined." Grandpa sighed, nodded in understanding, and finally asked me to bring the person I love to meet him another day. As I stepped out of Grandpa's room, I saw Fuchen standing further down the hallway, his face completely expressionless. His cheek was badly swollen, yet all I felt was grim satisfaction. In my past life, I would plead for him even if Grandfather so much as raised his voice, but now, my heart remains utterly unmoved. I tried to step past him and leave, but he spoke. "Su Yao, I told you I hate it when people play hard to get with me. Are you just not getting it? Marrying me would ruin your life. You're practically dying to marry me. You only ever liked me. You're always sneaking glances at me, and then you get all flustered when I catch you. Isn't that a clear sign of affection?" I let out a helpless laugh. "The nightmare's over. Am I not allowed to wake up?" He looked at me intently, as if searching for something in my eyes. It was then that Lianxin, standing timidly behind him, spoke up. "Chen, I'm scared to sleep alone over there." Fu Chen gave me one last look, then turned, took her hand, and led her into his room. That room, in our past life, after we were married, he never let me set foot in it again. Chapter 3. The next day, when I went to Jiang Yan's place, he was in the middle of moving a few boxes of parts. He paused when he saw me. He wiped his grimy hands on his apron, looking a bit flustered. "You're here early," he said. "Have you eaten?" "It is a bit early, 6 o'clock. I thought to myself, since we're getting married, we should at least try to build some rapport. Otherwise, when we go back to see Grandpa, our overly polite and distant manner would surely arouse suspicion." I shook my head. He said he'd take me to that really good noodle shop nearby for a meal, and I nodded. Walking beside Jiang Yan, I realized just how tall he really was. I'd estimate he's about 188 centimeters, with broad shoulders, long legs, and very fair skin. In my past life, I saw his interview and marveled that someone so handsome had declared he would never marry. I kept wondering what kind of girl could earn such deep affection from a man of his stature, but now, why on earth would he agree to marry me? After we finished the noodles and Jiang Yan quietly paid the bill, my heart jolted. The words spilled out before I could stop them. "Jiang Yan, do you like me?" His face flushed instantly, his eyes growing even more alluring. He pressed his lips together, remained silent for a long while, and then finally let out a soft "MHM." That was his answer to me. my mind went blank with a roar, and I felt utterly wretched. In my past life, someone this amazing was into me, and I was completely oblivious. I don't get it, how could I not have known? I asked. He met my gaze, flustered and nervous. I'm not good enough for you, I'm just a phone repair guy, and you're the heiress of the Fu family. In my past life, thanks to Grandpa Fu's favor and his desire to compensate me, I was chauffeured around in luxury cars, dressed head to toe in the latest designer labels, and enjoyed only the finest things in life. My eyes were only for Fu Chen, blind to anyone else's existence, although Jiang Yan was driven and managed to enter our elite university on a full scholarship, becoming my schoolmate. But in his eyes back then, we still lived in completely different worlds. A whirlwind of emotion swept through me. I opened my mouth to speak, but words failed me, so I simply gave his shoulder a pat. Someday, it might be me who's not good enough for you. You're clearly going places. In my past life, fresh out of university and filled with joy, I agreed to marry Fu Chen. After the wedding, he forbade me from painting and mocked me, saying no one would ever come to my art exhibition. He said he wanted me to be a stay-at-home wife and, if possible, take care of his children for him. I agreed. But he went abroad to get a temporary sterilization shot, something I only found out on my deathbed. The only time he ever touched me was when the effects of the drug in his system temporarily wore off, and he was drunk, so it all happened in a confused haze. Thinking about it now, when he asked me to raise his child, it was probably the child he had with Lian Xian. After dinner, we strolled back to the shop. I'll let you get back to work, I'm heading off now. After a few steps, I paused as if remembering something, turned back, and said, how about dinner together tomorrow night? A smile suddenly broke through Jiang Yan's despondent expression, his eyes lighting up as he nodded emphatically. Yeah. I was taken aback for a moment. Even after lying in bed, I was still thinking about Jiang Yan's captivating smile. I got up to get some water and unexpectedly ran into Lian Xian. Upon seeing me, she said bluntly, pour me a glass of water, get it yourself. I said as I moved past her to leave. She grabbed me on purpose. The moment I gently pulled away, she plopped herself down on the ground. Fu Chen's furious voice roared from behind me. Su Yao, I knew you were up to no good. Just because I won't marry you, you have to target Xinxin like this. Let me make this clear. I only see you as a sister. If you want to get technical, you should be calling her sister-in-law. I turned my head and spoke coldly. Whether I call her that is my choice. Whether you see me as a sister is yours. The fact is, I don't have feelings for you anymore, and the fact is, I'm marrying someone else. After the wedding, I'll move out of here. We'll go our separate ways and leave each other alone. Fu Chen stared at me, his gaze unrelenting, until Lian Xian cried out in pain. Only then did he snap out of it, scoop her up, and leave, with her arms wrapped around his neck. Lian Xian shot me a taunting smirk over his shoulder as they passed by. I just thought they were utterly ridiculous. Chapter 4. The dinner was booked at an upscale restaurant. I looked at Jiang Yan with a hint of unease and asked, why did you pick this place? Dressed in a suit and looking over the menu. Jiang Yan glanced up. I remember you once said you liked foie gras. It was just an offhand comment I made to a classmate in the cafeteria. I never expected Jiang Yan to remember it all this time. I suddenly let out a soft laugh. Oh well, a future big shot like him must be confident he can afford this meal. At worst, I can just get him a gift later. Halfway through the meal, I saw Fu Chen arrive with Lian Xian. He curled his lips into a mocking smile. You even brought along a fake date just to follow us around. Su Yao, is that really necessary? I stood up and linked my arm with Jiang Yan's. Let me introduce you. This is my boyfriend, Jiang Yan. Then, I pointed at them. Darling, these are just a couple of irrelevant idiots. Don't pay them any mind. Jiang Yan's gaze had been fixed on me the entire time. Hearing this, he nodded and gave a slight smile. Fu Chen's expression darkened with displeasure. Su Yao, is that any way to introduce your brother and sister-in-law? What brother and sister-in-law? You're a Fu, I'm in Su. The only one I acknowledge is Grandpa Fu. As he finished speaking, Jiang Yan suddenly reached out and touched the corner of my mouth, his voice gentle. You've got something there. I was taken aback, feeling the rough texture of his fingers against my skin, and I blushed slightly, seeing me like this. Fu Chen's voice grew even colder. Come back with me. Lian Xian chimed in from the side. Sister Xu Yao, fine, you don't like me as your sister-in-law, but Fu Chen is practically your brother. How could you run around with some random man behind their backs, throwing away all the care and support Grandpa and Chen have given you? I lost my patience and shot back. I'm not that shameless, getting pregnant before marriage and using the child to force your way in. Now who's the one running around? My voice was loud enough. Lian Xian's face flushed bright red, and she began to shed crocodile tears. Fu Chen's face was as dark as a thundercloud, his eyes blazing with fury. He raised his hand to slap me, shouting, "Apologize to your sister-in-law." Before I could dodge, Jiang Yan's hand shot out to block the blow. He grabbed Fu Chen's wrist and shoved it away violently. Fu Chen threw another punch, and the two of them started brawling. Jiang Yan was used to manual labor from hauling goods, while Fu Chen was a pampered young master. Naturally, he was no match. I clenched my fists in excitement, my face beaming with a look that screamed, "Yes, get him." Lian Xian shrieked and rushed forward to hug Fu Chen. "Chen, let's get out of here." Fu Chen was panting heavily. He wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, but his eyes remained locked on me, stubborn and frenzied. "Su Yao, come back with me. I can pretend today never happened." Chapter 5. I couldn't even be bothered to spare him a glance. Grabbing Jiang Yan's hand, I turned and walked away, completely missing Lian Xian's venomous, hate-filled stare. After that incident, I treated Fu Chen and Lian Xian as if they were thin air. My entire life revolved around finding Jiang Yan, or being on my way to find him. I know he had it tough in the early days of his startup, often running around alone to pitch projects and secure deals, so I picked out a navy blue tie for him, thinking he could wear it for business meetings. Just as I was about to leave the room, Fu Chen stormed down the hallway and grabbed me by the throat. I had never seen him look like that before. His eyes were filled with nothing but hatred and disappointment. I was struggling desperately, gasping for air, when Grandpa Fu appeared and struck Fu Chen hard on the back with his cane. "Stop that." He let go, taking several ragged breaths before he could speak. "What did Xin do wrong? How could you be so cruel? She was only trying to persuade you to break up with that penniless boy. What did you do? You actually pushed her. Do you have any idea you almost made her lose the baby?" I was completely stunned. Lian Xian almost had a miscarriage. That super male child was almost lost. I remembered a few days ago, she did come to me and said a few words about me breaking up with Jiang Yan, but I couldn't be bothered to listen and just turned and walked away. She had a miscarriage, and I'm the one who pushed her. Fu Chen caught sight of the tie lying on the floor out of the corner of his eye. He snatched it up and hurled it right in my face. "Did you think giving me a tie would make me forgive you? Do you really think things can go back to the way they were?" Fu Chen and I weren't always at each other's throats like we are now. We actually got along quite well once. That was back when Fu Chen was in high school. I was in 8th grade, and my school was near his. He'd always wait for me at the school gate after his classes let out. We'd walk home together, and he'd help me with my homework. I was so hooked on video games that I bombed the monthly exam. Fu Chen got really mad. He said, "You think you can get into the same high school as me if you keep this up? If you don't stop playing games all the time, I'm done talking to you." True to his word, he ignored me. For a whole week, he didn't wait for me at the school gate. He'd just sit in the car, and even when I got in, he wouldn't say a word, so I went and bought a gift. That night, I went to his room and stood at the door, calling him good brother over and over until I finally managed to coax a smile out of the stone-faced Fu Chen. He even said he wanted to receive a gift from me every year from now on. My eyes suddenly welled up with tears. When did things start to change? Was it after we started university, when he fell in love with Lian Xin at first sight? I picked up the necktie, gently stroking it, trying to wipe away the stain, but it wouldn't come off. The hurt he inflicted on me is seared into my soul, a permanent scar that will never fade. Tears welled up and fell as I looked at Fu Chen, my voice choked with emotion. "It's not for you, Fu Chen. I could never give you anything ever again, a tie, or anything else. It's just not possible. There's been no chance for us for a long time now." Fu Chen frowned, a flicker of panic flashing in his eyes for an instant before it was replaced by cold indifference the next second. He yanked me roughly, ignoring my grandfather's attempts to stop him, dragged me out the door, and shoved me into the car. He hissed through gritted teeth next to my ear, "Do you really think I still care about you, Su Yao? What I hate most is your pathetic act. You're coming with me to the hospital to get on your knees in front of Xin. You will beg for her forgiveness." Chapter 6. I won't go. Let me go. I refuse. I struggled desperately, but it was useless. Fu Chen was relentless. Not even Grandpa could stop him. The car sped to the hospital at 100 miles per hour. I stood rigidly in the hospital room, my back ramrod straight and my lips clenched tight, refusing to kneel. Lian Xian lay in the hospital bed, putting on a pitiful act. "Chen, just let it go. The baby and I are fine, let her be." But her words only infuriated Fu Chen further. He raised his leg, aiming a kick straight at my knee. At that critical moment, stop, the hospital room door was flung open. Grandpa Fu and Jiang Yan rushed in, one right after the other. Jiang Yan darted forward and pulled me into his arms, narrowly avoiding Fu Chen's kick. He then looked at me with a face full of concern, his lips trembling. "Are you okay? Su Yao, are you alright?" A wave of boundless anguish suddenly washed over me. I was truly terrified. I'm terrified that those two lunatics, Fu Chen and Lian Xian, will end my life again, just like they did in my past life. Tears welled up and overflowed. How did you get here?" I managed to ask through my sobs. Seeing me cry, Jiang Yan's heart ached. He pulled me into a comforting embrace. I couldn't wait any longer. It was past the time we agreed on, and you hadn't come. So I went to the Fu residence to look for you. For some reason, the sight of this only stoked the fire of Fu Chen's anger. He had thought that after his rebirth, he could control everything. In this life, he was determined to defy his grandfather, marry Lian Xian, and completely rid himself of the trouble that was Su Yao. Sending her far away would be his way of making up for what he owed her in his past life. At the very least, don't let her die because of me again. But why? Why has Su Yao changed in this life as well? She was the one who drew the line first, which was exactly the outcome he wanted. So why does it hurt so much to see her being so intimate with someone else? Why? Grandpa Fu stepped forward and slapped Fu Chen twice across the face. "You reckless fool. Even if you don't want to marry Yao Yao, you shouldn't treat her like this. Take a good look for yourself at how your so-called innocent sweetheart framed Yao Yao." The butler picked up his phone, played a video, and provided an explanation as it ran. "This is the video the cleaning lady recorded that night when Miss Lian Xian went to see Miss Su Yao. In the video, Lian Xian did indeed try to persuade me to break up with him. I ignored her and walked away. Then, she looked around to make sure no one was watching, and deliberately ran headfirst into a nearby pillar. The impact was right in the stomach area." Fu Chen stared at the video, then looked up at the person on the bed who was still feigning pitifulness with an expression of utter disbelief. "Why would you do this?" Lian Xian panicked. I just wanted Su Yao to come to her senses. I just didn't want her to go down the wrong path." Chen, please believe me." "What wrong path?" Grandpa spoke up. "I gave my approval for Su Yao to be with Jiang Yan. His company is currently in talks with the Fu Group for a partnership. With a mind like his, that young man is bound for remarkable achievements. Who are you, with your short-sighted views, to stand there and stir up trouble?" Lian Qin's face flushed with a mix of anger and humiliation, while Fu Chen stood by in silence. He looked at me, a flicker of guilt in his eyes, but his pride wouldn't let him apologize. "It doesn't matter. I wouldn't accept his apology anyway. Not now, not ever." Grandpa let out a sigh. "In that case, Yao Yao, you should move out of the Fu residence tomorrow. It's for the best, to avoid any more unpleasantness and conflict between you and Fu Chen. Be happy with Jiang Yan. The money your grandfather left for you has been transferred to your account. Go and live your own life well. Just come back and visit this old man when you have the time." With red-rimmed eyes, I nodded, ignoring Fu Chen's resentful glare from the side. "Fu Chen, I have something to say to you as well. This woman is cunning and calculating. If you insist on marrying her, I won't stand in your way. I'll give you some money. Take her and move into one of those houses outside, then start your own business." "Grandpa, Fu Chen suddenly hesitated. "What more do you want? Wasn't this exactly what you asked of me that night? I'm giving you what you wanted, and you're still not satisfied." After saying his piece, Grandpa Fu turned on his heel and stormed out of the hospital room. Jiang Yan led me away from that suffocating place as well, from start to finish. I didn't spare Fu Chen another glance. Chapter 7. That very night, I moved out and into an apartment under my own name, while Jiang Yan stayed at his shop. We began living like any ordinary couple. We had meals together every day. He was busy running around for projects and securing deals, while I picked up my paintbrush again. Occasionally, I would bring up the topic of marriage. He paused, looking at me, his eyes brimming with sincerity. "Do you believe in me? I can succeed. I have the confidence and the certainty. When the time comes, I want to give you a grand wedding." I smiled and nodded. I believe him. He's a man of exceptional talent. In his previous life, he landed a major project, which made him a name in the industry. Come to think of it, it's around this time, Jiang Yan is attending a cocktail party, and he's asked me to be his plus one. I nodded, but I hadn't expected to run into Fu Chen there. Grandfather Fu publicly declared that no one should do Fu Chen any favors out of respect for the Fu family. Fu Chen's ventures were his own business, and he wouldn't be receiving any help from him. If he could make a name for himself on his own, then the Fu family empire would be his. The woman by his side wasn't Lian Xin. I guess after what happened that day, they must have fallen into a cold war. Fu Chen had drunk heavily, his eyes bloodshot. Seeing me head to the restroom, he followed. I snapped impatiently, "What do you want?" He hesitated before saying, "Even if you won't marry me, I still think of you as a sister. That Jiang Yan isn't right for you. Break up with him, and I'll introduce you to someone better." I couldn't help but laugh, laughing until tears streamed down my face. Fu Chen looked at me, a frosty chill gradually gathering in the depths of his eyes. "You, Fu Chen, are nothing but trash. What kind of decent person could you possibly know? Say whatever you want about me, but in this lifetime, I refuse to watch you fall into an abyss. I still see you as a little sister, and I will take responsibility for you." Responsibility. I remember my last life, and the child in my womb that never had the chance to form. No one knew how overjoyed and full of hope I was back then, and no one knew how utterly shattered I was when I learned the truth. I looked at the man before me, the man who once filled my heart and my vision. If you never loved me, why couldn't you just have said so? Why must we keep tormenting each other like this? Why must we keep inflicting this pain? If you dig out the baby from Lianxin's womb and give it to me as a specimen, then I'll agree to break up with Jiang Yan. How about that? The last trace of pity in Fu Chen's eyes for me vanished without a trace the moment he heard me say that. He raised his hand to slap me again, but I struck him first. "If you can't do it, then get out." "Su Yao, do you have to be so cruel? Do you really hate her that much?" I burst out laughing. "You're wrong. The person I hate most is you." A look of inquiry rose in Fu Chen's eyes. He was about to ask something more when Jiang Yan arrived. Jiang Yan successfully secured that crucial project in the end. After the reception, the news spread like wildfire. At the victory celebration, watching Fu Chen nearly shatter his wine glass in his hand filled me with immense satisfaction. I've taken up painting again. In my past life, I was utterly crushed by Fu Chen and nearly gave up on my dreams, but in this life, I believe one must ultimately have faith in oneself and live for oneself. Perhaps I was influenced by Jiang Yan. He works so hard and always encourages me with the kindest words. On the day the art exhibition opened, Lian Xian gave birth to the child at the most prestigious hospital, the child who took my life. Grandpa Fu didn't interfere in their affairs. Upon hearing it was a grandson, he merely nodded and sent someone to deliver some tonics. He never approved of Lian Xian in his heart, so he was also unaware that this child had XYY syndrome, because he was busy starting his business. Fu Chen didn't accompany her to the prenatal checkups. He just said that if the test showed the baby wasn't viable, they should terminate the pregnancy. Lian Xian was frightened by Fu Chen's recent coldness. Even though the child was deemed unviable, she insisted on having it, keeping it a secret from Fu Chen. Lian Xian had lied. Time flew by. Jiang Yan's company is thriving and expanding more and more. I've gone from the young girl who used to drop by his little shop for free meals to the woman who now enters his modern office building, respectfully addressed as Mrs. Jiang by all the staff. It feels wonderful to be treated with such respect and cherished like this. It's nothing like my past life with Fu Chen, who even strictly controlled how often I could leave the house. On the day Jiang Yan's company officially went public, in front of countless flashing cameras and the media, he got down on one knee and proposed to me. Chapter 8. This was something Fu Chen failed to give me in my past life. Back then, he agreed to marry me, but on one condition: it had to be kept secret. Grandpa was furious, shouting, and nearly took a swing at him, but I stopped him. I said, "I do." The married life that followed was undoubtedly filled with resentment. Fu Chen was either constantly flying abroad on business trips, or he was flying abroad on business trips. Looking back now, he was probably going abroad to see Lianxin and that child of his. I was immersed in joy, busy with all the wedding preparations. But that very night, Fu Chen showed up at my place. "Are you really going to marry him? What's so great about him, Su Yao? Must you defy me for his sake?" I was so infuriated by his entitled tone that I almost laughed. "Fu Chen, have you lost your mind? Who the hell do you think you are? I don't need your permission to marry anyone. It's none of your damn business." I reached out impatiently to slam the door shut, but Fu Chen suddenly thrust his hand out, wedging it firmly against the door. His eyes were bloodshot as he practically roared at me. "What do you mean I have no right to tell you what to do, Su Yao? In our past life, you married me. It was me." I stood frozen in place. So, Fu Chen, he was reborn just like me. Seeing me like this, Fu Chen understood everything, and his tone softened. "Su Yao, even though I can't marry you in this life, I can give you a good life. Let me make it up to you, please." So he remembered everything from our past life all along. I looked at him with red-rimmed eyes. "In our last life, how did you bury me? You didn't order an autopsy, did you? Because the circumstances would have been unfavorable for your illegitimate son, so you just disposed of it, right? Then you probably don't know. In my past life, I was carrying your child too, was I not? In an instant, Fu Chen's eyes widened, filled with terror, trembling, fear, and guilt. I'm sorry, Su Yao, please forgive me, I didn't know. He tried to grab me in a panic, but I dodged his grasp. He stubbornly reached for my hand, and I couldn't hold back any longer. I slapped him hard across the face. I was blind in my past life, but for all the lives to come, I will never forgive you. I will never have anything to do with you again. Mark my words, Fu Chen. A rotten person like you is going straight to hell. Fu Chen stumbled back several steps, tears finally spilling over. At last, he understood what this heart-wrenching pain truly was. He had fallen in love with Su Yao long ago. Without even realizing it, it was only his pride, his refusal to be arranged by his grandfather, that made him suppress his feelings for her. Even when he met Lian Xian at university, there was a fleeting moment where her smile reminded him so vividly of Su Yao from their childhood. When did it all start to go so terribly wrong? Fu Chen crouched on the ground, covering his mouth as he sobbed. Lian Xian rushed over with the child in her arms. Chen, what are you doing here? You promised me you wouldn't look for her anymore. Her voice choked with tears. Lian Xian looked at me, her eyes filled with nothing but hatred. It's you again, Su Yao, you're the one to blame, you wretched woman. If it weren't for you haunting Chen and clinging to him, he would have married me long ago. Our family of 3 would have been living happily together by now. She seemed to have completely lost her mind. She actually raised the child in her arms as if to hurl it at me. Go to hell. I was absolutely stunned by her madness, but Lian Xin didn't hit me. Fu Chen caught her and the child in his arms. Fu Chen grabbed her by the neck and slapped her hard several times. Enough. He dragged the still crying and struggling Lian Xin, stumbling away, watching them disappear around the corner of the stairs. I just felt a wave of nausea. If only Jiang Yan were here, of all times. He's been abroad these past few days negotiating a crucial partnership deal. Feeling utterly wronged after dealing with that pair of idiots, I locked the door and placed an international call to Jiang Yan. Chapter 9. Fu Chen went through with the marriage after all. That night, when Lian Xian returned home, she threw a hysterical fit, threatening to jump off the building with their child, which forced Fu Chen to agree to marry her. However, they only registered the marriage, allowing Lian Xian to flaunt the certificate on social media, and did not hold a wedding ceremony. Lian Xin moved into the Fu family home, bringing her child with her. Jiang Yan and I had a splendid wedding, attended by many distinguished guests, including Fu Chen. He watched with profound emotion as Jiang Yan and I exchanged rings, and as he kissed me, in that moment, the light in his eyes went out completely. His heart ached as if it were about to break. Suddenly, he remembered a night from his past life. He had had a bit to drink when he returned. Su Yao had been waiting for him and thoughtfully helped him to his room. She tactfully turned to leave, but he caught her hand. What he really wanted to ask was what she and the butler had been chatting about so happily that day, but she kept avoiding him, and he grew increasingly agitated. Why was she always dodging him like that? Later, he pushed her down. Now, all he could do was watch her marry someone else. He couldn't accept it. He just couldn't. Fu Chen stood up and staggered towards the newlyweds who were toasting their guests. He pleaded, his voice almost a supplication. Yao Yao, I was wrong. Please don't marry him. I'll marry you. I watched his deranged behavior as if observing a mental patient. Jiang Yan had already subtly positioned himself in front of me, shielding me. Fu Chen, however, acted as if Jiang Yan weren't even there. Reaching out to grab my hand, Jiang Yan raised his arm and blocked it without hesitation. The very next instant, Fu Chen's fist came swinging straight at Jiang Yan, with old scores and new grievances boiling over. Jiang Yan showed no mercy. He pinned Fu Chen to the ground and gave him a thorough beating. The guests were utterly stunned. In the end, it was Grandpa Fu who, with a dark expression, had several burly bodyguards rush in. They forcibly dragged out Fu Chen, who was still struggling and shouting obscenities. Before leaving, Grandpa Fu approached us. With a face full of apology, he promised both Jiang Yan and me that Fu Chen would never appear before me again. I still trust Grandpa Fu's word. He's a man of his word. I embarked on my sweet married life, only to hear that Lian Xian's child had grown a bit older and was beginning to exhibit some violent behavior. Fu Chen was drinking all day long and couldn't be bothered to look after him. Knowing this child was different, Grandpa Fu forced them to move out. Their child turned 8, and mine was already 3. That scene from my past life played out once more. Led by Lian Xian, he held that small knife in his hand, but I am not without my defenses anymore. Just as he charged forward and the bodyguards moved to intercept, Fu Chen rushed out. He took the stab for me. Lian Xian screamed in, and Fu Chen looked at her. You've been lying to me all along. this child still hasn't changed. Fu Chen was rushed to the hospital, but they couldn't save him. It was a major artery. Heartbroken, Grandpa Fu wanted to send that grandson of his to a juvenile detention center. Lian Xian ran out with him, only to be hit by a car. They both died tragically. Jiang Yan held me and the child, shaken with fear. I comforted him. It's okay, I told you. This was something we had to face. The Fu family wasn't without an heir. Old Master Fu had actually been raising a secret love child all along. After Fu Chen's death, he handed over the entire Fu Corporation to this child and set off to travel the country. Meanwhile, my art exhibitions grew in scale and prestige, even receiving invitations from abroad. Jiang Yan insisted on accompanying me, no matter what. I teased him for being so clingy. His eyes grew misty as he said, I can't bear to lose you a second time. I froze for a moment, then wrapped my arms around him in return. In this lifetime, we will be happy forever. The end. Story 2. On my birthday, when I saw Sethi's message saying he had a business trip and couldn't accompany me, I was momentarily surprised that Sethi broke his promise. Actually, in previous years, Sethi didn't celebrate my birthday with me every year either. We've been together for 7 years, and he's only celebrated my birthday with me 3 times. The first 2 times were during the honeymoon phase of our relationship. As our relationship stabilized and gradually became more routine, he rarely paid attention to these so-called ceremonial gestures anymore. No gifts on holidays, birthdays not necessarily spent together, even New Year's is celebrated separately. He never mentions taking me home or coming to mine. Even when I bring up meeting parents, he always finds excuses to delay. Over time, I came to understand and simply stopped bringing it up. This year, I never expected him to celebrate my birthday with me, but just a few days ago, he suddenly told me he'd pick me up to stay at a mountain lodge in the suburbs, adding that the room and restaurant were already booked. When my best friend heard the news, she half-jokingly said, could it be a proposal? My first reaction at the time was denial. I knew for certain it couldn't be true, because Sethi and I had already been having issues in our relationship, ever since his white moonlight returned to the country. We hadn't had a single good day, either arguing or giving each other the cold shoulder. I can't even remember the last time we were intimate. Breaking up was probably just a matter of time anyway. I took one last look at the text message. Sethi said he had to go on a sudden business trip and couldn't celebrate my birthday with me, suggesting I go out with my best friend instead. He sent over the booking details for the homestay and restaurant. I didn't want to reply and was about to turn off my phone when my WeChat buzzed. Sethi had transferred 5,000 yuan. After a moment's thought, I accepted the money. After all, the birthday gift I gave him this year cost more than that. Might as well take it back. After work, I figured since the homestay and restaurant were already booked, there was no point wasting them. Hanging out with my best friend would be more fun anyway. I contacted my best friend and drove to pick her up, but unexpectedly got into a car accident halfway. Someone rear-ended me hard. My forehead was badly cut, and blood covered my face. When I was rushed to the hospital, my clothes were soaked in blood. Holding my forehead, I hurried toward the emergency department when, in the infusion room, I ran into my boyfriend who had claimed to be away on a sudden business trip. Through the glass, we came face to face. I paused for a moment as blood trickled into my eyes, tinting my vision red. I blinked twice before I could clearly see Sethi's panicked face and the woman leaning against his shoulder, his white moonlight, Arya Jiang. Perhaps my blood-stained appearance was frightening. Arya Jiang straightened up, her expression equally startled, but the next second, she turned and grabbed Sethi, who had started to rise and move toward me. I saw Sethi stop in his tracks. When he lowered his head, his eyes and heart were entirely filled with Arya Jiang. No surprise at all. I covered my forehead and kept walking forward. Just as I was about to reach the emergency department entrance, Sethi finally caught up. He looked at me with concern, opened his mouth, and asked first, "What happened?" I smiled and said, "Just a minor bump, nothing fatal." Sethi took a step forward, wanting to help me, but I dodged his hand. I calmly said to him, "Don't worry about me. Don't you have a business trip to attend? Hurry up, or you'll be late." Sethi's expression instantly became incredibly vivid, but I no longer wanted to see it. I turned and walked away. My injuries were quite severe. The gash on my forehead was deep and required 4 stitches, and there were also many dark, ugly bruises and scrapes all over my body, while the doctor was treating the wound on my forehead. Sethi stood beside me, asking with concern about the extent of my injuries and what had happened. I remained silent the entire time. After the treatment was done, the family of the driver who rear-ended me arrived at the hospital, apologizing and offering to cover the medical expenses. It was only then that Seth realized it was a car accident. He suddenly grabbed me. His face filled with genuine anxiety and fear, asking, "How could you not tell me about something so serious?" I shook off his hand and replied calmly, "Are you sure you want to argue with me in the hospital?" The place was crowded, with the car owner's family nearby, all watching us. Seth, guilty and uneasy, still tried to hold my hand and whispered, "Then I'll accompany you for the checkup." This time, I didn't pull away. Instead, I gestured with my chin toward the front. Arya Jiang stood there holding in 4 bag, her face pale and weak, looking pitifully at Seth. "Someone's looking for you." After saying this, I shook off Seth's hand once again. "Lila." Seth chased after me for a couple of steps, but upon seeing Arya Jiang beside him, his pace quickly slowed. In the end, Seth didn't accompany me for the checkup. Facing the tedious process alone, I naturally felt aggrieved, helpless, and angry, but more than anything, I was clear-headed. I began to think clearly about my relationship with Seth. We had been together for 7 years. Yet he never mentioned marriage or having children. Whenever I brought it up, he would either say he wasn't ready or claim his career was at a critical juncture, suggesting we discuss it later. Back then, I loved him and understood him. No matter how hurt I felt, I endured it willingly rather than doubting or questioning him. But now looking back, the real reason Seth didn't want to marry me was simply that he couldn't forget his first love. In his heart, Arya Jiang was always the most important person. I spent a long time at the hospital for my checkup, yet Seth never once came to see me. In his heart, who mattered more was painfully obvious. Instead, it was my best friend who rushed over quickly, accompanying me up and down the hospital, and ultimately, not feeling comfortable leaving me alone at home, took me to her rented place. "Your birthday really turned out to be," my best friend sighed. "Looks like we'll have to go burn some incense in a couple of days." "Such bad luck." I was about to respond when my phone rang. It was Seth calling. "Lila, why aren't you home? Are you still at the hospital?" Holding my slightly aching forehead, I replied in a calm tone, "What do you want?" Seth sounded puzzled. "Lila, what's with that tone? I'm your boyfriend. Shouldn't I be calling to check on you?" I sneered. "Really? When I was getting my checkup alone today? I thought my boyfriend had died." Seth was quite embarrassed. After a long silence, he softly explained, "Arya suddenly came down with acute gastroenteritis and a fever of 39 degrees. It was very serious. She's alone in the country with no family or friends around. I was afraid something might happen to her, so I went to check on her." Such words, Seth had repeated them countless times over the past 2 years. Arya Jiang returned to the country 2 years ago. Back then, when Seth said this, it was somewhat believable, but now, 2 years later, hasn't Arya Jiang made at least a couple of acquaintances in Nan City? Moreover, the southern part of the city is where she grew up. Even if her parents have gone abroad, doesn't she have any other relatives there? It's all just excuses, nothing more. "But I'm already tired and don't want to argue anymore," I said. "Fine. Then go and focus on taking care of her." I hung up the phone. My best friend overheard my phone call. She knew exactly what was going on between Seth and me. First, she cursed Seth fiercely on my behalf, then finally asked me, "He's definitely going to come looking for you here later. Will you go back with him when he does?" I thought for a moment, then calmly and rationally said, "I'll go back. It's the weekend tomorrow, and your boyfriend is coming to see you, right?" My best friend looked a little embarrassed. She and her boyfriend were in a long-distance relationship, and they rarely got to see each other. "If you don't want to go back, I'll tell him not to come tomorrow. We can spend the whole weekend together." My best friend was being very supportive. I shook my head, determined not to trouble her too much. But things didn't go as planned. Seth didn't come to pick me up. My phone vibrated with a message from Arya Jiang. "Sister Sue, I'm really sorry about today. I was feeling too unwell, so I asked Seth to stay with me." Her words were dripping with green tea vibes. I could tell at a glance. The subtext was clear. Seth was currently at her place keeping her company. "Arya Jiang, Sister Sue, I heard you were in a car accident. Seeing you covered in blood gave me such a fright. How are you feeling now?" It suddenly dawned on me. Arya Jiang was here to flaunt her victory. I was the one in a car accident, drenched in blood. Yet Seth still chose to stay by Arya Jiang's side. I lowered my eyes and typed slowly. "What is Seth doing now?" "He's in the kitchen making soup. I have acute gastroenteritis and can only eat something light." "Sister Sue, you lost a lot of blood today. You must need nourishment too. Is there anything you'd like to eat? I'll have Seth make it and bring it to you tomorrow." Just listen to that tone, acting like the hostess. Anyone who didn't know better would think she was Seth's official girlfriend. I didn't reply. but instead took a screenshot of our conversation and sent it directly to Sethi. After a long while, Sethi finally replied with obvious guilt and haste, "Lila, you should chat less with Arya, she's immature and doesn't know how to speak properly." I responded, "I think she speaks quite well and seems perfect to be the lady of the house. Your parents must like her a lot. Why don't you just marry her?" Sethi immediately replied, "What nonsense are you talking about? You're my girlfriend. I only see Arya as a little sister." Then he immediately asked me, "What kind of soup would you like to drink tomorrow? I'll make it and bring it over for you." I stared at this message, my eyes sore and swollen. "Sethi, you've never made soup for me before. We were together for 7 years, and most of the household chores were handled by me. Originally, I didn't know how to cook either, but for Sethi, I gradually learned." In front of me, Sethi always acted as if he couldn't cook. Who knew he could actually make soup? The difference between love and its absence is so stark. How could I have kept pretending not to see it all this time? Sethi called back almost immediately, but I didn't answer. I turned off my phone and went straight to sleep. The next day, I was woken by the hushed sound of my best friend on the phone. She stood on the balcony, speaking softly to her boyfriend. According to the original plan, I was supposed to spend a night at a homestay with my best friend, then part ways. I would go home alone, while she would spend the weekend with her boyfriend, but the car accident disrupted everything. Her boyfriend seemed upset about not being able to come, and my best friend was trying to comfort him, holding my aching forehead. I struggled to get out of bed and said to her, "Let your boyfriend come. I'm heading home today." My best friend didn't agree. She was genuinely worried something might happen to me alone, but I was determined. I didn't want to trouble my best friend too much. After some thought, I mustered my courage and called Sethi, asking him to come pick me up. But what I didn't expect was that Arya Jiang answered the phone. In a coquettish tone, she said apologetically, "Sister Sue, I'm really sorry. Seth stayed up all night taking care of me and now he has a fever. He just took some medicine and is still asleep." Even though I've already seen through Sethi, hearing this still made me furious, yet I could do nothing about it, because I no longer wanted to rush over recklessly like before, grabbing Sethi and arguing with him for an explanation. After being tormented like this for 2 years, I'm truly exhausted. I asked Arya Jiang, "Haven't you ever wondered why, after 2 years, Sethi still hasn't broken up with me to be with you?" Arya Jiang's tone turned slightly colder, yet remained hypocritical. "I don't understand what you're talking about. Seth and I are just like siblings. I see him as a brother, and he sees me as a sister. Sister Sue, please don't project your dirty thoughts onto us." I let out a cold laugh and hung up the phone. In the end, I took a taxi back to the home I shared with Sethi. By the time Sethi returned, it was already the next morning. At that time, I was sitting on the sofa handling work tasks, something assigned last minute. When the leader asked in the group chat who was available to work on this spreadsheet, I volunteered, because I didn't want to stay idle at home. Sethi looked somewhat weak and pale. As soon as he saw me, he came over eagerly and called out affectionately, "Honey." I pushed him away, gave him a once-over, and asked with a smile, "Where's the soup you promised to make for me?" Sethi's expression froze for a moment. But he quickly said, "I'll go out to buy groceries later and make you a blood-nourishing and beauty-enhancing soup." I couldn't help but laugh at this. Blood-nourishing and beauty-enhancing. Seems like you've made plenty of such soups for Arya Jiang before. Huh. Sethi's expression completely stiffened. His eyes filled with guilt as he looked at me and explained, "Because Arya was in very poor health, her parents asked me to take good care of her. At the time, I also needed her family's help with work, so I made her soup. It was all for work." Listen to that. What a noble-sounding excuse. So I nodded in agreement and said, "Yes, after all, I can't help you with work. It's only right for you to go to Arya Jiang, darling." Sethi wrapped his arms around my waist, softening his tone as if we were in the honeymoon phase of our relationship, and said somewhat coquettishly, "Can we stop talking about these unhappy things? I have some free time these days. Why don't you take leave from work too, so I can take good care of you at home?" I continued staring at the computer, my tone still calm. "No, I'm very busy with work. If you have nothing to do, why don't you go on a business trip?" I said the words business trip with unmistakable sarcasm, because that was the exact excuse he used to stand me up on my birthday. Sethi sat up straight, his expression shifting unpredictably as he looked at me. I knew he must be angry right now, because he kept offering me ways to save face, but I didn't take the hint and step down gracefully as he intended. Instead, I kept giving him attitude the whole time. He was certainly displeased, but I didn't care. Sethi sulked for half the day, but by evening, he still made soup. However, he truly couldn't cook. the dishes were takeout. He called me to eat in a cold voice, so I went. We sat facing each other, eating in silence. Sethi's soup sat in the middle of the table. And he had even prepared bowls in advance, but I didn't so much as glance at it. Sethi has been holding back, and I can feel his mood darkening. Finally, he couldn't take it anymore. Didn't you want to drink the soup? Why haven't you taken a single sip? I continued eating unhurriedly and asked calmly, have you made this soup for Arya Jiang before? Sethi remained silent. That meant he had. Then I won't drink it. I don't want the same thing as Arya Jiang. You're really throwing a tantrum with me, aren't you? Sethi finally couldn't hold back and started to lose his temper. Ever since you saw me with Arya at the hospital, you've been treating me with this passive-aggressive attitude. Lila Su, if you have any grievances, can't you just say it outright? In the past, I would have slammed the bowl down and started a loud argument with Sethi by now, but now, I just gently set down my bowl and chopsticks, wiped my mouth with a tissue, and finally looked up calmly at Sethi. Fine, I'll just say it straight. I'm unhappy about how close you are with Arya Jiang. So what? I looked at him mockingly. And then, will you just stop seeing Arya Jiang? Sethi said emphatically. How many times do I have to tell you? Arya and I grew up together. I see her as my own sister. And our parents are very close friends. I can't just cut ties with Arya Jiang. Can you stop making a fuss about this? I stood up, my eyes stinging strangely. How odd, even now. I still felt so wronged I could cry. Thankfully, my expression remained calm. I looked at Sethi and told him very clearly, since you've said it like that, I'll really make a scene for you to see. Sethi, I'm giving you two choices now, either break up with Arya Jiang, or break up with me. After saying that, I turned around and slammed the door as I entered the bedroom. I didn't see Sethi's expression at that moment, but I only knew that after several seconds. He rushed from the living room to knock on the bedroom door, shouting at me, Lila Su, what do you mean? His voice was loud, filled with intense anger and panic. Open the door. Come out and explain to me clearly, what exactly do you mean? You want to break up with me? Lila Su, you actually want to break up with me? I leaned against the bedroom door, suddenly feeling a bit dazed because I remembered the past. Several times, Sethi and I had arguments because of Arya Jiang. I truly couldn't stand it. My boyfriend was constantly busy attending to another woman, and when he came back, he would accuse me of being unreasonable, lacking empathy, and targeting Arya Jiang. The more he acted like this, the angrier I became. Constantly asking him what he really meant and what exactly his relationship with Arya Jiang was. When Sethi got fed up with my nagging, he would retreat into the study and lock the door tightly, and I would keep knocking on the door outside, relentlessly pressing for answers, hysterical and utterly disgraceful. Now, the roles have suddenly reversed, and the one making a scene has become Sethi. While I feel a sense of relief and satisfaction, I also find the whole situation utterly ridiculous. Sethi banged on the door for a long time before finally quieting down. He sent me a message, Lila Su, I think we both need to calm down. Breaking up isn't a joke. You shouldn't bring it up so casually. I couldn't be bothered to reply. It's clear that Sethi wants to have his cake and eat it too. He doesn't want to break up with me, nor does he want to give up Arya Jiang. But nothing in this world comes that easy. I've already wasted enough time on Sethi. I don't want to stay by his side any longer, but after all, I've been with him for 7 years. Just letting go like this feels somewhat unwilling. I slowly walked to the bedside, and suddenly, a sense of confusion welled up in my heart. I know that unwillingness is useless, it only wastes my emotions and time, but humans are not plants or trees, who can be without feelings. I just can't accept it. The next day, I got up as usual and prepared for work. As soon as I opened the bedroom door, I ran into Sethi, who had just returned from outside. I froze for a moment, thinking he had gone out again last night to find Arya Jiang. You're up so early. Sethi initiated the conversation with me, lifting the bag in his hand. I went out to buy breakfast, eat it while it's hot. I was surprised. This was something I used to do often. Sethi is always busy with work, often staying up late to work overtime. To let him sleep a bit longer, I would prepare breakfast in advance, sometimes making it myself, other times buying it outside. He set out the breakfast as if our argument from last night had never happened. Have you washed up? Do you want to have breakfast first? I didn't respond, just walked over and sat down at the dining table. The breakfast Sethi bought turned out to be just average, no special taste, no particular feeling, even a bit tiresome, because Sethi kept talking to me, trying to liven up the atmosphere between us. I only ate a little before putting it down and turned to wash up, grab my bag. I'm heading out. Sethi stopped me, looking surprised and concerned. Are you going out to work? You just had a car accident, lost so much blood. Aren't you going to rest for a few days? I don't want to stay at home." With that, I walked past Sethi and left directly. Unexpectedly, Sethi hurriedly chased after me. "Then let me drive you to the office." I couldn't be bothered to argue with him. If he wanted to drive me, so be it. It wasn't my time being wasted, and it saved me the trouble anyway. During the ride, Sethi kept trying to make conversation, but I barely responded, instead staring out the window while thinking about work matters. The company recently plans to open a branch in another city and needs to send a few experienced employees there. Although the salary there would be higher and there would be more opportunities, most of the experienced employees are locals. And it's uncertain whether the branch will succeed, so not many have actually signed up. I think I can give it a try, but it won't be for at least another month. "Lila," Seth called me, saying somewhat bitterly, "You must have been really tired before, right? When we were together, it was always you keeping the conversation going. Now that it's my turn today, I realize how exhausting and difficult it is to keep a conversation going." A bitter taste welled up in my heart. Seth, he probably forgot. Back when we were deeply in love, he had said something similar. He said he wasn't good at socializing, and with studies and work always keeping him busy, he often neglected me, making me the one who sacrificed more in our relationship. Even in conversations, I was always the one who talked the most. He said that I've been working hard during this time and promised to make changes in the future. But the truth is, not only did he fail to change, he even forgot the words he once spoke. He has always been fully aware of my efforts and sacrifices, yet he has grown accustomed to taking and enjoying, completely blind to my exhaustion. Bringing it up again now is nothing more than another attempt to deceive me. At the company, Seth, he thoughtfully said to me again, "Wait for me after work, I'll come pick you up." I wanted to see how far he would go, so I agreed. Seth, he was very happy, thinking I was giving him a way out, and quickly added, "I'll book a nice restaurant later, and we can have a good meal together, as a way to make up for your birthday." I still said, "Sure." Upon entering the company, I first went to see the department head and told him about my desire to transfer to the branch office. As it happened, the department head was the person in charge of the branch, and he was very pleased that I was willing to go. The department head shared a few heartfelt words with me. "Lila Sue, to be honest, I've always thought you're very capable, but you lack ambition. You never take on the high reward, overtime-heavy projects, always opting instead for tasks like mentoring newcomers, effort-intensive yet thankless work." I laughed at myself inwardly. Yes, in the past, I always thought Seth, he was already too busy with work, and if I were also busy, we'd have even less time to spend together. So I always pick some easy jobs to do, as long as I don't make mistakes. I rarely even attend company events like dinners, blending into the background at work. If it weren't for my reliability and ability to train newcomers, the company would probably have terminated my contract long ago. I won't slack off anymore, I solemnly told the manager. "From now on, I'll focus all my energy on work." The manager said happily, "Good. I'll be watching your performance when we move to the branch office." Stepping out of the office, I suddenly felt a long-lost surge of passion and fighting spirit. It was as if, in an instant, life held a different kind of hope, one I could see and touch. What on earth had I been doing all this time? How could I have wasted my time and youth on that scumbag Seth? Perhaps the director wanted to see if I was truly determined. That very afternoon, he assigned me an important task. After a quick glance, I estimated it would require at least 2 weeks of consecutive overtime. Looks like I won't be leaving on time today either. As it neared the end of the workday, I couldn't help but glance at my phone, thinking about Sethi's message. If he reached out, I would mercilessly reject him. Finally, my phone vibrated. Sethi's message had arrived. "Lila, I'm really sorry, something came up last minute, and I can't pick you up today. I'll call you a ride, after work. Just take a taxi home, don't squeeze onto public transport, you just had an accident, so you need more rest." The words sounded bright and considerate, but I couldn't help feeling like laughing. I didn't reply immediately. Instead, I sent a message to Arya Jiang. "Is Sethi with you?" That green tea bitch. Arya Jiang replied to me right away. "Sister Sue, I'm so sorry, my gastroenteritis has flared up again, and I couldn't find any reliable friends around, so I had to contact Seth. Please don't misunderstand Seth because of this, it's all my fault." I took a screenshot of this message and sent it to Sethi. Then I said to him, "Don't make promises you can't keep, Sethi, you're becoming more and more despicable in my eyes." Sethi immediately called, but I hung up directly, turned off my phone, and started focusing on overtime work. This kept me busy until 9 p.m. As I left the office and was about to turn on my phone to hail a ride, I suddenly caught sight of Sethi out of the corner of my eye. Lila, he got out of the car with an ingratiating smile. I came to pick you up. I glanced at him, initially intending to ignore him, but unexpectedly spotted Arya Jiang in the passenger seat. I still walked toward Sethi's car, curious to see what else this despicable pair, Arya Jiang and Sethi, could possibly do. Arya Jiang in the passenger seat immediately got out and said to me with apparent consideration, "Sister Sue, you take the front seat, I'll move to the back." I gave her a cold glance and said, "No need, I wouldn't want to sit on a chair someone else has used, might catch something." Arya Jiang's expression faltered slightly before she quickly turned to look at Sethi with a pitiful gaze, as if to say, "See how she's bullying me." But I noticed Sethi didn't take her side this time. Instead, he shot her a glare. Arya Jiang's face instantly grew even more aggrieved, her delicate features drooping into a pitiful pout. I just watched coldly. To be fair, Arya Jiang is genuinely beautiful, the type of delicate and aloof little white flower. Back in college, she was already a famous campus beauty with countless admirers, including Sethi, who grew up with her. Sethi even confessed his feelings, but was rejected on the grounds that they knew each other too well and were better off as friends. However, we later found out the real reason was that Arya Jiang was dating a minor celebrity at the time and harbored dreams of entering the entertainment industry herself, so she naturally looked down on Sethi, who lacked the glamour of stardom. In the end, her dreams shattered, so she went abroad. After returning, she became an internet celebrity, gaining a decent number of followers and achieving some level of fame. Sitting in the back seat, I observed Sethi and Arya Jiang with an objective gaze for the first time, a handsome man and a beautiful woman, truly a well-matched pair. After getting into the car, Arya Jiang eagerly handed me a cup of milk tea, smiling as she said, "Sister Sue, this is for you. It's the trending avocado yogurt drink." I glanced at Sethi and replied coolly, "Didn't he tell you? I don't eat avocados." Arya Jiang looked helplessly at Sethi. Sethi's expression was stiff and awkward as he gripped the steering wheel and said, I forgot." Actually, he had no idea at all. Sethi loves eating avocados, so I often make avocado sandwiches for him in the morning. I've also told him that I'm not used to eating this, but he never really listens to me, so naturally, he doesn't know I don't eat it. Arya Jiang smiled and said, "It's okay. I'll help Seth remember in the future." I laughed, crossed my arms, and said, "Today is the first time I've realized that you and Sethi actually make a good match." At these words, Sethi's expression changed abruptly, causing the car to swerve and nearly hit the roadside railing. He quickly pulled over to the side of the road ahead and turned to confront me, demanding, "Lila Sue, what do you mean by that?" With a calm expression, I replied evenly, "I didn't mean anything by it, just speaking my mind." Seth's eyes were fixed intently on me, his emotions fluctuating wildly, as if he cared deeply about my attitude, something I found utterly baffling. After all, when I was hysterical in the past, his reaction was nothing like this. "Seth, Sister Sue," Arya Jiang interjected with a peacemaker's tone, "please don't argue because of me. It's not good, Sister Sue. Seth and I really are just ordinary friends. We've known each other since childhood. We're just childhood friends." I smiled and said, "Is that so?" Arya Jiang put on an innocent, earnest face. "Really, there's nothing between Seth and me. Back then, we were young and didn't know any better." "Seth isn't." "Shut up." Sethi snapped at Arya Jiang, "You talk too much nonsense." Arya Jiang's face turned pale, genuinely hurt this time, looking as if she was about to cry at Sethi's expression. I kept my eyes fixed on Sethi's reaction, and unsurprisingly, I saw regret and heartache flash across his face. See, whether there's love or not is just this obvious. It simply can't be hidden. Originally, the three of us were supposed to have dinner together, but after the argument, Sethi took Arya Jiang home halfway through. After getting out of the car, Arya Jiang stood by the roadside, watching Sethi's car drive away. She was slender, dressed in a white dress, looking as fragile as a small white lotus in the night. I noticed Sethi kept watching her through the rearview mirror, his fingers tightening on the steering wheel. "Does it hurt?" I asked directly. "Should we stop? You guys go eat. I'll head home first. I'm actually tired from working overtime today." "I don't," Sethi immediately retorted. "I just, he didn't dare to speak the truth, so I said it for him. You're just worried, right?" "I understand." Sethi fell silent. We remained quiet all the way to the restaurant, and it wasn't until dinner was almost over that he finally spoke. "I was wrong today. I shouldn't have promised to pick you up and then changed my mind last minute." I smiled and asked him, "If you had to choose again, would you still ignore Arya Jiang?" Sethi opened his mouth, but his half-second hesitation already gave me the answer. I took a sip of juice and said calmly, Sethi, I have no expectations of you now, so no matter how outrageous your actions are, nothing will surprise me. Sethi's face instantly turned pale. He opened his mouth and, after a long pause, finally said, Are you really that disappointed in me? Perhaps it was the atmosphere of the restaurant, or maybe the timing was just right, but it gave me the patience to open up. I said softly, It's been 2 years, Sethi, since Arya Jiang returned to the country. Have we had even one good day together? No matter what happens, you always put Arya Jiang first. When she first came back, she had no place to stay and no friends. She needed your care and help, I understood that, but now. I looked at him and asked, Can you honestly say you don't have any feelings for her at all? Sethi actually gave a great answer this time. I won't do that again in the future. I'll correct myself. You're right. I've indeed been taking care of her too much, and it's time for her to become independent now. The latter half of his sentence made me burst into laughter on the spot. I leaned back against the seat, laughing so hard that tears nearly came out. See? You're still so concerned about her. Every word you say is still thinking for her. Sethi turned pale, realizing a second later that he had misspoken. He wanted to explain further, but I no longer wished to listen. I stood up, grabbed my bag, and prepared to leave. As for the breakup, you should think it over carefully. Sethi immediately chased after me, gripping my hand tightly as he pleaded urgently. There's nothing to consider, Lila. I won't break up with you. Gritting his teeth. He finally said, I love you. I smiled at him, feeling not a ripple of emotion inside. How strange. This is actually the first time you've confessed your feelings to me. We had been together for 7 years. Back then, I was the one who pursued him, so it was me who confessed and showed affection, and me who gave more. Sethi enjoyed my devotion for 7 years, yet never once said he liked me. Now that I'm about to break up with him, he says he loves me. How laughable. 1. There was too much work, so I got up and left early the next day. When I arrived at the office, I received a message from Sethi asking why I left so early and saying he had brought me breakfast. I didn't reply and threw myself into the busy work. In the evening, Sethi called me. At that time, I was with the manager and 2 other colleagues who were going to the branch office, on our way to a dinner gathering. We needed to discuss a project and the specifics of the branch office trip. So I had no time to deal with Sethi and simply hung up. Sethi immediately called a second time, a third time. He actually called 7 or 8 times in a row. I could imagine Sethi's angry and dissatisfied expression at that moment. After being with him for 7 years, I had never hung up on him like that before. In the past, whenever he called me, even if I was in a meeting, I would immediately send him a message to explain. Sethi was very busy with work and rarely reached out to me unless necessary, so I cherished every moment. Whenever he said he wanted to take me out to eat, I would find every possible way to put aside my work. But now I won't anymore. Finally, Sethi stopped bombarding me with calls and sent me a message. Why aren't you answering? The text was also full of an accusatory tone. I didn't want to respond at first, but then I remembered how Sethi used to reply to my messages. So I sent back 2 words, busy. Sethi immediately fell silent on the other end. I guess he must have remembered the past too, how impatiently he would reply when I urgently needed to reach him, even when I was running a fever of 39 degrees Celsius. That's exactly why, during the last car accident, it never even crossed my mind to call Sethi. I knew he was on a business trip, and contacting him would only earn me a curt I'm busy. I thought Sethi wouldn't contact me again. At least not for a while, but unexpectedly, he sent me another message in the middle of the dinner. I'm outside the restaurant where you're having dinner. Contact me when you're done, and I'll take you home. I frowned, feeling no gratitude, only discomfort. How do you know I'm at a dinner? Are you monitoring my whereabouts? No, I went to your company and asked your colleagues, Sethi anxiously explained. How could I possibly do something like monitoring you? Lila, don't misunderstand me. I genuinely want to mend our relationship now, and I won't do anything to upset you again, I replied. Then go back by yourself. I don't need you to pick me up. You never did before, and now you suddenly want to put on a show. Don't you think that's hypocritical? Perhaps because I'd been drinking. My tone in the reply was quite harsh. Seth went quiet again, and just when I thought he must be really angry this time, he replied, I know I was terrible before, but I genuinely want to change now. Lila, give me a chance. I don't want to break up with you. I kept checking my phone frequently, and a male colleague at the dinner noticed. He leaned over and asked if my family was urging me to leave and said I could go first if it was urgent. Perhaps because he had been drinking, the male colleague got very close, almost leaning on my shoulder as he spoke. I shook my head and turned off my phone. No, it was a message from my ex. Then just leave him hanging. The more you ignore a man, the more passionate he becomes, the male colleague said drunkenly, patting my shoulder and pouring me another drink. Come on, have another glass. The manager tried to intervene, but I picked up the glass myself. I don't know why, but I actually felt like drinking a bit more. Perhaps it's because, in Sethi, I saw the same pathetic version of myself from the past. One after the dinner party, I was a bit drunk. I forgot that I had just been in a car accident and lost a lot of blood, which significantly reduced my alcohol tolerance. In the past, a few drinks wouldn't have made me unable to walk, but today my legs were so weak that the manager had to help me out in the end. In my blurry vision, I saw Sethi walking over with a cold expression, somewhat rudely reaching out to pull me. A male colleague beside me stopped him. You must be Lila Sue's persistent ex-boyfriend, right? Sethi's face turned extremely grim. We haven't broken up yet, the male colleague said. That's not for you to decide. She's drunk now, and we can't trust her to you. We'll take responsibility for sending her home, but apart from Sethi's home, I have nowhere to go. I was planning to rent a place near the branch office to avoid wasting money, since things between Sethi and I aren't settled yet. The current situation left me feeling very awkward. Fortunately, the manager noticed my discomfort and, playing the peacemaker, spoke up for me before asking if I wanted to leave with Sethi. I nodded and let Sethi support me. He held me tightly by the waist and tried to push me into the passenger seat, but I resisted by pressing against the door. I won't sit in the passenger seat. I don't want to get hemorrhoids. Sethi's expression darkened even more. After a few seconds, he said, from now on, I won't let Arya sit in the passenger seat. This spot will always be reserved for you. No need. I pushed him away and got into the back seat. The alcohol took effect, and I soon drifted into a half-asleep state. Sethi seemed to say something to me, but I didn't catch it, nor did I care to. When we got home, I felt Sethi undressing me and immediately snapped awake, glaring at him coldly. What do you think you're doing? Sethi was furious, veins bulging on his forehead. I knew he must be seething with anger at that moment. Giving you a bath. You're covered in smells. Absolutely disgusting. His breathing became somewhat rapid, and the way he looked at me started to feel off. I didn't stop Sethi's actions. After being with him for 7 years, we were very familiar with each other's bodies. I didn't mind, but I just wanted to make Sethi uncomfortable. Have you ever given Arya Jiang a bath too? Sethi suddenly froze in his movements. I continued to ask, all those times you lied to me about business trips, did you sleep with her? Sethi glared at me. In your eyes, am I really that much of a scumbag? The alcohol's effects had completely worn off, and I looked at him with clear eyes. Then have you ever thought about it? Sethi's expression changed slightly. The answer was clear. He had thought about it but never took that step. As for whether it actually happened or not, it no longer mattered. I rubbed my throbbing forehead and suddenly felt utterly exhausted. Sethi, I'm serious. Let's break up. Sethi suddenly pulled me into an embrace. I don't want to break up, Lila. I know I was wrong, and I'll change. I promise. His voice was hoarse as he spoke in pain. Today, when I saw you being intimate with another man, you have no idea how furious and jealous I felt. I don't want you to get so close to other men. Only now do I realize how you must have felt before. He paused for a moment before continuing. When you saw me with Arya back then, you must have felt just as miserable as I do now. I replied calmly, no, I loved you so deeply back then that my pain was 1,000, 10,000 times worse than yours. But, I pushed him away and looked into his eyes, saying, but I don't love you anymore. Sethi, I don't. That evening, I packed my things and moved to a hotel. Sethi kept trying to persuade me to stay, even getting into a heated argument with me. It was the first time I'd seen him so worked up. He even threw a decorative piece from the entryway. For a moment, I thought he was going to throw my suitcase too, but in the end, he didn't. Instead, he just stared at me with reddened eyes, full of resentment and anger, and asked, can't we try one more time, give each other a chance? We've already spent 7 years together. I shook my head. I walked out of the home I had lived in for many years, and moments later, Sethi chased after me, saying he wanted to see me off. My head was splitting with pain, and I was utterly exhausted, not wanting to argue with him in the neighborhood. I agreed. After checking in, I collapsed into bed and fell asleep. The next day, the alarm clock woke me up, and I still felt terribly dizzy, so I took half a day off. By noon, I got ready to leave and noticed the door to the opposite room was open. I didn't pay much attention, but after taking just 2 steps, Sethi's hurried voice called out from behind, Lila, are you heading to the office? Let me drive you. Surprised, I looked at him. You didn't go back last night. No. I wasn't comfortable leaving you alone at the hotel. I'll stay in the opposite room to keep you company until you're no longer upset. I laughed and asked him, is this fun? Seth he didn't want to discuss this issue with me. Only saying he would take me to the company. I found it quite amusing, so I asked Seth what if I told you now that as long as you promise never to have any contact with Arya Jiang again, I'll go back with you, would you do it? Seth's expression immediately became hesitant, but he quickly forced himself to hide that hesitation and pretended to be troubled, saying, our families know each other, so we'll inevitably have some contact, but I can. I turned and left without wanting to hear a single word of nonsense. Seth chased after me, still insisting on seeing me off, but I hailed a taxi and left directly. I took the morning off, and in the evening, I worked late at the office. As I was leaving, I ran into Seth at the company entrance. He looked at me nervously and said, let me take you to the hotel, it's late, and it's hard to get a taxi. I knew he had been waiting for me outside the company for a long time, at 6 p.m. He sent me a message, but I pretended not to see it at the time. It's almost 10 p.m. now. I told him I had already called a ride-hailing car, and just then, the car arrived. Without hesitation, I got in. On the way back to the hotel, I saw Seth's car following behind all the way. For several days after that, Seth stayed in the room across from mine, waiting for me to leave in the morning and picking me up from work in the evening. Even when I ignored him, he showed no signs of giving up. Occasionally, if I got off work early, he would knock on my door, saying he had made soup for me. If I didn't open the door, he would leave it outside, insisting that I should drink it and take care of my health, but I never took it even once. Belated affection is cheaper than grass. No matter what Seth does now, I feel nothing but indifference, finding his current behavior utterly ridiculous, just like the former me. The more Seth humbles himself to please me, the more I'm reminded of my past self, and the more I want to end our relationship. I want to completely leave the past behind. When the busy work gradually came to an end, and it was almost time to head to the branch office's city, suddenly, I found myself with a lot of free time. One day, after sleeping until noon and finishing lunch, I opened my hotel room door and was somewhat surprised to see Seth's room door also ajar. Seth was equally busy with work. My previous hectic schedule had actually aligned quite closely with his. Early mornings and late nights, he had accumulated a lot of work from picking me up after my shifts and often worked late into the night in private. I knew this because we had mutual friends who worked at the same company as Seth. That friend knew about my breakup with Seth and reached out to me, hoping we could reconcile. Especially since we had been together for 7 years, especially recently. Seth has been working on a major project, often staying late into the night. He probably doesn't have a whole morning free, but I can't be bothered to consider his schedule right now. Since I have time today, I want to go back and move out the rest of my things. After all, I paid for them. I can't just leave them behind. I walked to the door of his room and heard Seth in the middle of a video conference inside. Seeing he was busy, I turned to leave. Lila, Seth actually noticed me, interrupted the meeting, and hurried over. What's wrong? Is something the matter? His expression was urgent yet expectant, as if he thought I had finally changed my mind. I calmly said to him, I'm free today and would like to go to your place to pick up my things. If you're busy, just give me the key, and I can handle it myself. The anticipation on Seth's face instantly shattered, replaced by an indescribable, strange expression. He asked me sadly, do you really have to break up with me? I replied indifferently, yes, I've told you many times, I don't love you anymore. Seth's eyes reddened immediately. He seemed to want to say more, but the video conference called him back, giving him a quick excuse to leave. I'm really busy today, let's talk in a few days. Okay, we'll discuss it then, but I'm leaving the day after tomorrow. I'm going to work at the branch office. And I won't be coming back to Nanjing after that. Seth looked at me in shock. You're leaving? I didn't want to argue with him and simply informed him, if you don't give me the key, I'll call a locksmith. But don't worry, I won't do anything else. No. Seth hurried over to stop me, his strange expression becoming even more pronounced, as if he were feeling guilty. Can we do this in a few days? I shook off his hand and immediately realized, Seth, is there someone in your home you don't want me to see? Without needing to think too hard, it was easy to guess. That person must be Arya Jiang. To be honest, I find this whole situation absolutely ridiculous. On one hand, he keeps pestering me, refusing to break up, while on the other, he's secretly keeping Arya Jiang as his mistress. Does he really think he can have it both ways? This is just laughable. Seth clearly realized I had figured it out and immediately explained. It's because Arya has been harassed by a creepy fan these past few days. The guy keeps lurking outside her door, and she had no choice but to turn to me for help. I smiled at him. Can't she stay in a hotel outside? Seth he wanted to retort, but in the end, he probably felt his argument wasn't strong enough and fell silent. Forget it, I don't want those things anymore. Let's just leave it at that. I returned to my room and closed the door. See, I knew it. He couldn't possibly not stay in touch with Arya Jiang. That scumbag and that despicable woman are bound to be entangled for life. Less than 10 minutes later, Seth he came knocking on my door, saying he wanted to explain, but what's there left to explain? He knows perfectly well that he's in the wrong, and he'll never change for the rest of his life. I don't know why Seth he refuses to break up. Maybe he's grown accustomed to my 7 years of devotion and can't bear to lose someone who takes care of him and tolerates him, or perhaps he genuinely has feelings for me, regrets it, and doesn't want to part ways. I don't care about anything anymore. In the end, I didn't open the door. Originally, I planned to leave the day after tomorrow, but I didn't want to see Seth he again. So I changed my flight to the evening and went to the company to complete all the necessary procedures in advance. When I checked out of the hotel and left, I noticed Seth he's room door was closed. I didn't pay it any mind until I finished packing and opened my door again. That's when I saw the door across from me open, and Arya Jiang walked out. Her hair was wet, clearly just washed. Su Jia. Arya Jiang smiled at me, glancing at my suitcase and pretending not to know anything as she asked, "Are you going on a trip?" I didn't want to waste words on this green tea bitch, so I dragged my suitcase and left. Arya Jiang followed me into the elevator. At this point, she finally dropped the act and asked me with a sweet, giggly voice, "Are you really willing to break up with Seth? He's handsome, comes from a good family, you won't find someone with such great conditions next time." I really couldn't understand what Arya Jiang was thinking, so I asked bluntly, "If I don't step aside, do you even have a chance to take my place? Or are you just shamelessly enjoying the thrill of being the other woman?" Arya Jiang smiled, her face plastered with a nauseating innocence. "Sister Sue, you've got me all wrong. Seth and I are completely innocent. We're just friends. It's just that he treats me better than he treats you. Even if you're jealous, there's no need to be so harsh with your words." I smiled back. "So innocent that you couldn't wait to waltz into his place the moment his girlfriend left." Arya Jiang, you're at least a social media influencer. Be careful about backlash. Do you really think I haven't kept any evidence of what's been going on between you and Seth he these past 2 years? She maintains the persona of an innocent little white flower online. If the things I have in my hands were to be exposed, her influencer career would definitely be over. It's just that I don't want to get dragged into it myself and become gossip material for netizens. Arya Jiang's face turned cold as she threatened me. "If you do this, Seth will be furious," I sneered. "Do you think I still care about him now?" Arya Jiang, if you want to act shameless, go do it in front of Seth he. Don't pull that act with me, push me too far, and I'll make sure you're ruined. Arya Jiang glared at me furiously. "Lila Sue, don't go too far." The elevator doors opened, and I dragged my suitcase out without looking back. Just as I was turning off my phone before the flight, Seth he called. I didn't answer, but he immediately sent a flurry of text messages, one after another, rapid and filled with anxious unease. "Lila, are you really leaving? Please don't go." "Okay, I'm already at the airport. Come down and give me a chance to explain. I was sick today, so Arya came to take care of me. Actually, I haven't seen her at all these past few days. Lila, please come back. I promise I won't have any private contact with Arya from now on. Please give me another chance." I stared coldly at these messages, then directly deleted and blocked Seth he's contact information. The plane took off, and I left South City, completely saying goodbye to my past with Seth he. I thought I would never see Seth he again, but to my surprise, just a week later, I saw a haggard-looking Seth he at the entrance of the branch office. He walked up to me awkwardly, looking devastated and humbled. "Lila, I came to find you." I pretended not to know him and walked past him. Seth he immediately followed. "Do you want to start a new life in another city? I can go with you. I'll apply for a transfer to wherever you are, and I won't contact Arya Jiang anymore. We can start fresh." I remained silent, but Seth he kept talking as usual. "Lila, let's get married. Okay, I'll give you everything from now on. Whatever you want me to do or how you want me to be, I'll listen to you completely. From now on, you'll be the only woman in my life." After 7 years of love, how can you be so heartless? I remained silent throughout, pretending not to hear a single word. I hailed a taxi to leave, and when Seth he tried to follow, I stopped him. Finally, I spoke my first words to him. "Sir, I don't know you. If you keep harassing me, I'll call the police, Seth. He looked at me with deep hurt in his eyes. I slammed the car door shut and left without hesitation. But I never expected Seth to be so shameless. He actually rented an apartment right across from mine. When I ran into him after work, I felt utterly disgusted. In the past, when Seth pestered me like this, it might have stirred something in me, reminding me of our history, but now, seeing him cling so desperately, all I feel is nausea and revulsion, so I called the police on the spot, reporting that a creep was stalking me. Seth didn't expect me to be so heartless and quickly snatched the phone, hastily hanging up, so he knew his actions weren't normal behavior after all. He looked at me with sorrow and sadness. Do you have to be so cruel? Not leaving me any face at all. I just stared at him coldly. He took a few steps back, murmuring, I understand now. You must think I haven't done enough. I won't pester you anymore, won't disturb you. I'll stay quietly nearby, and when you need me, I'll appear again. I told him, that day will never come. Seth seemed to have genuinely transferred his work here. He stayed across from me for half a month, leaving early and returning late every day, just like me, but he no longer came knocking on my door, nor did he wait for me at my company. Only occasionally when we bumped into each other on the road would he greet me with a smile. Occasionally, when something interesting happened, he would share it with me via text from a new phone number. But I rarely went to see it, nor did I ever go back. After 3 months of busy work, I finally adapted to the atmosphere and pace of the new company and got along well with my new colleagues. With the Labor Day holiday approaching, plus the adjusted days off, we had 5 days in total. My best friend and I decided to visit Gyeongnan together to experience the poetic charm of its small bridges and flowing water. On the day before the holiday, I received a call from Seth. Lila. I'd booked tickets to Lijeong. Didn't you always want to go there? You go by yourself. I'm going to Suzhou with Nan. I firmly declined. He only told me this news the day before departure. I can't tell if he cares about me or not, but this is a rare opportunity. Tickets for the long holiday are hard to get. I had several friends help me secure them. The next long holiday like this won't be until National Day. I've already been there. What? When? Last year during May Day. There was a pause on the other end, and suddenly, silence fell. I know, he must have thought of that time too. Last year during the May Day holiday, Seth and I planned ahead and finally managed to snag plane tickets. I was so happy I could have flown without them. I've always loved those ancient, charming places. Every time I visit one, I feel an inexplicable sense of happiness. Lijeong ancient town has been a place I've longed to visit ever since I graduated, unfortunately. Seth has been quite busy with work, often needing to work overtime, and on several previous occasions, our vacation schedules just didn't align. Miraculously, he was free during last year's May Day holiday, and I was overjoyed, filled with anticipation for this trip. For the entire week leading up to the holiday, I was full of energy every day, with a smile on my face. Whenever I had free time, I would scour the internet for all sorts of travel guides. And I even booked tickets for every little attraction we planned to visit. The night before departure, I went to bed with a smile of anticipation at the corners of my mouth. But the next morning, just as we were carrying our suitcases and about to leave, Seth received a call from Arya Jeong. My heart immediately sank. Sure enough, on the phone, Arya Jeong was crying pitifully, saying she had accidentally scalded her foot while boiling water and didn't know what to do. Asking if Seth could take her to the hospital, Seth panicked on the spot and agreed without hesitation, not even bothering to ask me first. Standing nearby, I felt my good mood from the past few days plummet to rock bottom. Unable to hold back, I questioned him. The flight takes off in just 2.5 hours. If you run off to take care of her now, does that mean you're not coming to Lijeong with me? He looked apologetic. I'm sorry, Lila, Arya is injured. I have no choice. Next time. I'll go with you next time. My eyes reddened with grievance. Next time, who knows when that will be? We've been waiting 3 years for this trip, and now we finally both have the time. Seeing me like this, he grew impatient. All right, I already said I'll go with you next time. Can you stop being unreasonable? Arya got hurt, and it wasn't on purpose. Is your trip really more important than her injury? Already upset. His words made me explode. I'm being unreasonable. Arya Jeong just burned her foot. It's not like she's disabled. Can't she just take a cab to the hospital, or ask a friend, or even call an ambulance? I'll pay for it. Okay, she knew we were going on a trip, yet she insisted on calling you over. Isn't she deliberately trying to ruin things for us? Enough, Lila Sue. Not everyone is as selfish as you. His face darkened. I don't want to argue with you. Ari is naturally timid, and now that she's hurt, she must feel helpless alone. I'm going to her first. He threw the suitcase there and hurried away, leaving me alone, sobbing uncontrollably in the empty living room with 2 suitcases. Later, after crying my fill, I looked at my travel itinerary and still took a taxi to the airport, until my phone was turned off before boarding the plane. He hadn't sent me any messages. Along the way, I couldn't muster any excitement. But when I truly saw those landscapes that could only be viewed on a phone screen, I was utterly amazed. The surging rivers, the steep gorges, the crystal-clear lakes, the vast plains, each one left me in awe. At night, Lijiang became dreamy and elusive, in the shimmering lights of the small river. One after another wishing lanterns, carrying heartfelt blessings, drifted away with the current. At the moment I made a wish with the crowd, all those unhappy feelings in my heart were momentarily forgotten. At first, I even wondered if he would come looking for me. Later, immersed in the beautiful scenery, I didn't have time to think about it anymore. On the way back, I felt much calmer, until I came across Arya Jiang's post on Moments, a grid of 9 photos, all featuring Arya Jiang and He in various travel selfies and candid shots against different backdrops. At the center of the grid is a photo of He resting his head on Arya Jiang's lap. Arya Jiang is wearing shorts, revealing her fair, long legs, while He lies on her lap, eyes closed, sound asleep. The caption reads, "Injured my foot and almost missed these beautiful views. Thankfully, I had a good buddy to lean on." I tortured myself by clicking through the photos one by one, recognizing them as being taken at Moon Lake in the neighboring city. Once, He had said he would take me there, but we ended up not going because we had a fight over Arya Jiang. Little did I expect that he would end up going with Arya Jiang instead. In those photos, Arya Jiang was either standing on tiptoe to pat He's shoulder or linking arms with him, with no trace left of her supposed injury. What was promised as care turned into a trip together, and knowing full well that I was angry, didn't send me a single message until the trip was over. That was the first time I had the thought of breaking up. After getting off the plane, I didn't return to the house we rented together and instead stayed at my best friend Nanan's place. Even after the holiday ended and work resumed, I didn't go home after getting off work. It was only then that he realized something was wrong. He came to Nanan's place, buying me flowers and driving me to and from work to win me back. At that time, I still loved him, so I softened easily with just a little coaxing from him. Soon, I took the opportunity he offered to reconcile. From beginning to end, he never knew I had gone to Lijiang alone. He thought I had been staying at Nanan's place those entire few days. In the end, it was a disappointing matter. Since he didn't ask, I never brought it up again. Actually, it's not completely without traces. I have a habit. Every time I travel, I like to collect paper tickets and passes with stamps in a small box, and those from Lijiang are naturally included. I even told He that these are the footprints we've walked together. That box is kept in the drawer of my bedside table. What a pity. He never once flipped through it. In the end, it just wasn't important enough to him. I'm sorry. I didn't know. So, you've already gone. Unknowingly. I've missed so much. I really deserve this. It's only right that you won't forgive me. He's voice was full of bitterness. You should refund the tickets early to reduce the service fee, or maybe go alone. It's not easy to get tickets anyway. My heart remained completely calm, even to the point of considering how to help him minimize the loss. Nan and I had a wonderful time in Jiangnan. We changed into Cheongsams and walked hand in hand along the small bridges and flowing streams, feeling as if even our moods had become much more serene. Nan said I looked very suitable in a Cheongsam, like a refined lady stepping out of a portrait from the Republic of China era, and she deliberately took many photos with me. I selected a few and posted them on my social media along with other photos, and he instantly liked them again. These past few days, we've posted quite a bit on social media, and he has almost always liked them instantly. If it were before, I would have been flattered, as this was the kind of treatment we only had when we first started dating, but now, I simply turned a blind eye. On the way back, I unexpectedly ran into He at the airport, pulling his suitcase. Seeing us, he happily approached and said, "I guessed you'd be on this flight," and I was right. What a coincidence. Let me give you a ride home. No need, we've already got a taxi. I waved my phone at him. He looked dejected as he watched us get into the car. On the way back, his car trailed far behind ours. My best friend Nan glanced back several times and nudged my arm. He's been following us the whole time. I just checked the flights from Lijiang to here. They arrived at 9 a.m. He waited over 3 hours for us. That's pretty sincere. Maybe you should consider giving him another chance. I shook my head. I had already let it go long ago. Only then did he realize he couldn't let go. too late. I got home at just 3 p.m., took a shower, and lay in bed playing with my phone. Unexpectedly, I was so exhausted that I fell asleep while playing. When I woke up, it was already dark outside. There was a text message on my phone from 10 minutes ago. It was from Seth. He said he rang the doorbell but I didn't hear it, so he left dinner outside the door, my favorite duck blood and vermicelli soup with crispy flatbread, and reminded me to eat. The duck blood and vermicelli soup from that shop really suited my taste, and since it was located near the neighborhood where I lived at the time, I basically went there to eat every day. You could say I never got tired of it. Later, Seth had a job change, and we moved here together. After that, going to that shop was no longer on the way. Each trip took over an hour, and Seth found it too troublesome to accompany me, so I rarely went alone. I never expected that he still remembered and specially bought it for me. It's just that, perhaps because it's been a while since I last had it, I'm not as craving for it anymore. I didn't touch that dinner, since I've already decided to part ways with Seth. I shouldn't have any more interactions with him, nor should I give him hope. I hope he understands that too. Unexpectedly, the next evening after work, there was another steaming bowl of duck blood and vermicelli soup placed at the door. For the next several days in a row, the same thing happened. Every time I came or left for work, some of my favorite dishes from before would be waiting at the door. I also received a text message from Seth. Lila. This time I walked alone through every scenic spot you visited in Lijiang. And only then did I realize how lonely traveling alone can be. I finally understood how you felt back then, and even more so, how much of a jerk I was before. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, and I know you despise me now, but I truly can't live without you. The thought of a life without your companionship feels utterly meaningless to me. I won't disturb you, but I'll silently stay by your side, ready to appear the moment you need me. I looked at this text message, feeling not moved but rather a bit of a headache. I thought that after seeing my indifferent attitude, he would quickly give up because he couldn't stand it. Unexpectedly, he became even more determined. I could feel that he was sincere when he said those words. He genuinely wants to reconcile with me and make amends, but deep down, I know very well that I no longer have any love for him. Faced with his belated warmth and attentiveness, my heart remains completely unmoved. After much deliberation, I finally decided to move out. Since we're going to break up, it's better to make a clean break. No contact, no giving him any hope. Before the lease expired, I posted a sublet listing online while searching for a new place. Several people inquired about the apartment during that time, but nothing was finalized. Just as I was considering whether to forfeit the deposit and move out directly, I realized it wasn't necessary anymore. Seth took the initiative to move out. At that time, the first major project of the branch company was completed, and the department had organized a celebration party at a rather luxurious KTV. Everyone sang and drank together, enjoying the relaxation after the busy period. I also had a few drinks, but living alone, I didn't dare to drink too much. When everyone was leaving, quite unexpectedly, I saw Seth. His company seemed to have a gathering there too, and they had also drunk quite a bit. Seth was tipsy, smoking in the lobby with a few colleagues around him. I didn't want to run into Seth, so I went to the restroom, planning to wait until he left. 10 minutes later, when I walked out again, Seth was still in the lobby, but he was so drunk that he had passed out on the floor. His colleagues were nowhere to be seen, and 2 waiters were standing around him, unsure of how to handle the situation. I walked right past the unconscious Seth. Faintly, I heard him call out my name, but I didn't turn back. While hailing a cab by the roadside, a taxi with passengers stopped, and Arya Jiang hurriedly jumped out. When she saw me, she froze for a moment, eyeing me warily as if afraid I might snatch something from her. I couldn't be bothered and hailed another taxi to leave. Not long after I returned to the rental apartment, I heard some noisy sounds coming from the hallway outside. It was Arya Jiang and Seth talking. It was very muffled. I couldn't make out the words, nor did I want to. However, the loud slamming of the door was crystal clear, as if deliberately meant for me to hear. The next day, on my way to work, I realized I had forgotten some documents and hurried back to retrieve them. Unexpectedly, I saw Seth moving cardboard boxes. The door was open, and I glanced inside. The empty living room was piled with several boxes and a suitcase, with Arya Jiang packing something into them. Seth looked startled, as if caught red-handed, his face pale with a hint of despairing stillness. Meanwhile, Arya Jiang inside was looking at me with a smug expression, as if she had won something. I curled my lips and said to Seth with frankness and generosity, "Wishing you two, the scumbag and the bitch, a happy union for 100 years. Seth's face was filled with dejection and despair. I turned to open the door, and just before entering, I heard Sethi say, "But Lila Sue, the one I love will always only be you." Unmoved, I closed the door. I just feel fortunate. Fortunately, I never thought of turning back. Fortunately, I didn't soften because of Sethi's actions. Otherwise, what awaited me would likely have been another heart-wrenching pain. It had been over half a year since I last heard any news about Sethi. While on a business trip, I unexpectedly ran into a mutual friend of Sethi and myself. We had been on good terms before, and coincidentally,